order. First order, we all have someone who's not doing well, so I would like a moment of silence for the person that you would like. Please, for a moment of silence. Thank you. Madam President.
Of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Agenda adoption, additions, deletions, corrections. None. Your motion? All in favor, aye? Opposed, likewise, motion carries. Consent agenda, item E, take particular attention to the proclamation of April as Child Abuse and Neglect Prevention Month. The rest of it is just for general information. Chair will entertain a motion to approve.
I make a motion.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
All opposed, likewise, motion carries. Okay, public hearing, I open this to the text amendment for orders to prohibit signage on the corner of Trade Street and Packwood. Tim?
So at the last planning board meeting, I presented an ordinance to change the signs. There's a section that says prohibited signs. We did allow signs in front of Morris the Horse statue within 10 feet of the Morris the Horse statue. Anytime signs go up there, we get some phone calls and comments. So I drafted a ordinance for them to change it to, it would read, signs placed on or within 25 feet of the Morris the Horse structure at the corner of Trade and Packwood Street would be prohibited. That would essentially take it all the way to the curb, so we would not have signage in front of it. The planning board voted unanimously to recommend it to you, so I need a vote from y'all. If there's any. After you open.
It's a public hearing, it's open. Any comments?
Well, frankly, since I own that land, living in the smoke, I'm quite happy to see no signage there.
No other comments?
So I guess the only sign I've seen is like the bingo sign.
Well, excuse me, here's a question. If you want to speak, please identify yourself for the public record.
Oh, okay. I'm Brett Lowry, and I guess my question was the only sign I've seen there is like the bingo sign. Is that the kind you want to prohibit?
There are many signs.
Other,
Yeah, they've been, more and more have been cropping up.
oh, okay.
That one may not actually fall into 25 feet. It's
Yeah.
far enough away from Morris, but
They usually put theirs on the other side of the railroad tracks when you turn.
Oh, okay. So your concern is it kind of just looks junky or?
Mhm.
Gotcha.
And maybe the clock tower will be next.
so do you want to vote?
Okay,
Close the public.
okay. I'll close the public hearing. The chair will entertain a motion to adopt the text amendment as presented by zoning plan coordinator. We have a motion, all in favor, aye? All opposed, likewise, motion carries. Item 7, public hearing, text amendment orders to allow electronic open signs in all business districts.
So also at the last planning board meeting, currently as it stands in the prohibited signs section 4.96, signs displaying electronically displayed messages are prohibited. So more or less, everybody's got an electric open sign in their window downtown. After discussion with the planning board, they, understand that that is kind of not necessary, but it's a practical business thing to have in your window. So they asked me to write a text amendment. So we're going to change section 4.96 subsection B to read signs displaying blinking, flashing, or intermittent lights, animation, moving parts, or electronically displayed messages. Electronic non-neon signs displaying only the word open are permitted. Open signs shall not exceed a height or width of more than 22 inches, and one open sign is allowed per business. The planning board voted unanimously to recommend it with the change or the addition of the one open sign per business allowed.
Yes, ma'am.
Ashley motion, can you clarify that? Because most of our windows, when people are driving by, it's hard to see into the windows to see if they are open, and that electronic sign, you don't seem to like, brightens it up and does allow people to know that you are open, or else people just keep driving by.
So this allows for that. This allows for that sign.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm
Sorry.
sorry, we were taking it away.
No. No, it's not in there now. We're putting it in there so you can't.
All right.
I'm guilty.
Okay. Opposed, further carried. Chair will entertain a motion to adopt the text amendment as presented. All in favor, aye. Opposed, likewise, motion carries. Update on the audit and financial statement for the year ended 30 June 2023.
Well, we got some good news. Susan and I received the draft financial statements last night from the auditor. We went through them, so it'll be on your agenda for May 21st, town board meeting.
Okay. I try to say this every time we come up with that, folks. We have gotten dinged by the state probably 6 or 8 times since I've been here. And each time, 99% of it is caused by the auditor. State requires that we have an auditor. We have to have that auditor because we're so small and other towns are so small. They don't put us on the front burner. So sometimes they get, I'm not correct, wasn't this due in October?
Well, actually, it's a state treasurer's meeting, which I attended in November. The close down by October 31st. And the state treasurer's giving a report that only 17% of the cities in the whole state and 8% of the counties have completed their audit on time this year. Part of the problem is a lot of compliance issues to deal with. A lot of the CPA firms have got out of the public sector audits. And so there's not enough auditors, and we went out to bid. We had one firm submit a proposal to us. They picked up several new clients, probably more than they can handle. But Susan and I have been pressing to get things done, and the numbers look, fairly well. And I know in the past the town got dinged for some being over on budget. I think every fund we're within budget this year, and we just been waiting for the auditors to get their work done.
And to give you an example, especially in this county, we got 3 towns that have to have an audit. We've got a county that has to have an audit. We've got a school system that has an audit. Each individual school has an audit. And it goes on and on and on. And you cannot do your own audit. You have to hire an outside audit. And we attended a meeting last year, and one of the things they said in the meetings is there just flat not enough auditing companies in the state of North Carolina at this point to handle everybody the way they need to be. They admitted that, but they still ding us.
So the next meeting will be an important financial meeting. We'll have the audit for the year ended, and then I'll be presenting the budget for next year at the next meeting.
And I'm not also correct, we need that audit to get a grant, or file for a grant?
Well, we have a loan for the $600,000 segment for Frederick Sewer. As you know, we got $2.6 million in 100% grant, right? And a $600,000 no interest loan for 20 years. But the state treasurer, so whenever you get the audit done, the cash flow it's not going to be harmed. So we'll be going to the LGC for approval at the July meeting, and it won't affect the cash flow, will be way ahead of the deadline to complete that project.
Okay, thank you. Item 9, depot presentation. Andy? Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Oh, man, this thing weighs 1,000 pounds. They're a brick.
Two, you're just one kid.
You know, it's like,
I've gotten weak in my old age, yes.
let's go outside.
All right, thank you very much for allowing me a few minutes to talk with you about the Tryon Depot. It struck me not long ago that we made this arrangement between myself and the town of Tryon about 14 years ago, and haven't really given you a report on the depot building in that time, so I thought this would be as good a time as any. Just to give everybody a bit of a timeline, the Tryon Depot was owned originally by Southern Railway. It was then, they were bought by Norfolk Southern. They owned it. The decline of the railroad in the 80s and 90s. This was taken in the 80s here, this picture of the depot. And passenger service stopped early, and anybody who knows these dates better than I do, help me out with this. I believe the passenger service stopped in the early 1990s, and then traffic completely stopped later than that, and the ownership was transferred to the town of Tryon after that because Norfolk Southern had no use for the depot. And for a while, there were some local nonprofits who had their offices in there, such as Tryon Riding and Hunt Club, Polk County Community Foundation, Tryon History Museum was in what the old freight room there for quite some time. But they left one by one over the years, and the depot became, unused. It sat there, kind of fell into a little bit of disrepair. It's owned by the town of Tryon, but the town had a lot of other priorities at that time. I showed this picture because the folks in the picture are less pertinent to our purposes here than the depot itself. That was about in the 90s. I'm sure you guys recognized John Vining, Beryl Day, those other four folks. I recognize them, but I can't remember who they were. But that was some event that they had at the depot. The town explored possible uses for the depot building. Dean Trachis, our distinguished architect here, made a really nice design. And in 2009, I was looking for a way I was working in an office downtown. I wanted to separate from that group and have my own office. And the economic development director at that time, Dr. Chris Armbrust, I gave him a call. I said, Chris, do you know of any property around town where I could have my own office? He said, how would you like to have the depot building for 20 years at $1 a year? I said, oh, that would be fantastic. What's it mean? And he said, you have to fix it up. And we'll talk about that in a little bit. And in April of 2010, we agreed, we signed the agreement. The town council approved it, which I very much appreciated then, appreciate it now. And we started the renovations. It took 20 months to complete those renovations. This is what the backside of the depot looked like when we started. I'm going to run through some of these pictures pretty quickly. This is what the lobby looked like. Nice looking drinking fountain there. That's the other end of the lobby. This is the bathroom in the front. It's the only bathroom that the building contained at that time. We started doing some demolition. I hired Mike Caraman Properties to do the renovation. And we started taking some things apart. This is what the freight room looked like at the time. Remember the drop ceiling that was in there? Over here, Mike Harriman's on the right, and standing and behind him there used to be a freight door there that was boarded up. This was a working freight door there. So this is in the storage room there. These panels around the walls, that's asbestos. And asbestos on the top as well. So we had to hire, and that, by the way, that siding is asbestos siding as well. The building had been changed a good bit over the years so that it didn't look anything like its original historical look. And so we had to hire a special contractor to come and take care of the asbestos, started taking things apart. If you look at the boards here, these are sort of the studs, and they are like 2 solid inches thick and like 10 or 11 inches deep, soaked in creosote, smelled to high heaven. Before we started doing the renovation, the whole building, you could smell it from 20 yards away. And that, we see they're even soaked, it's shiny. And so we had to paint with special Kills paint to try to keep the smell down or knock the smell down before we did anything else. And lots of different kinds of boards used in various parts of the building. This wall here, can anybody tell me what that wall might be? That was installed, huh?
Ticket counter?
Well, at the end of this wall was the ticket window, right up here. This wall was installed during Jim Crow. On this side of the wall was the quote-unquote colored waiting room. On the other side of the wall was the white waiting room. So we tore it down. As we were coming into it, we were doing some demolition in the freight room, which later became the depot room. We saw this. We found this. Bergen didn't check anything on August 19th, 1925. Also on November, looked like 97, 1925. Also on June 24th, 1926. All we could figure on that was that some guy named Bergen didn't do a very good job. And Mike Kierman, you can see what the building looked like when they took that asbestos siding off. This is Mike's right-hand man, Jim Heelan. Great, great guy. You may recognize Chuck Britton, who helped, replace the ceiling under the eaves. Obviously, doing a lot of work there. We had to do a lot of digging. We had to replace all of the sewer lines, all the water lines, dug all around the building. You may recognize Mr. Dale Musselwhite, our fine electrician. And so you can see, once we started stripping back as far as we wanted to strip, you could see through the walls. And so we painted those walls with that Kills paint to knock down the smell. Had to do some jackhammering, put in, however, and you notice this, I'm not sure if OSHA would approve of that particular way that they're doing that, and nobody got hurt. Dean insisted that we take the drop ceiling out and not replace it with a drop ceiling, but make use of the fact that there must be some beauty up there, and sure enough, that's what we found.
There must be some money to pay for it.
Yeah, it was not the cheapest part of the deal, but Bill Hay, you may remember him, he helped out a lot. Oh, look at Dean, he helped out. He looks like he's really having a good time. Look like he's pointing out something that's important. And you see where we started with our first coat of paint there. This is what later became the depot room. You see how it started to take shape with the insulation up in the roof. Starting to fill new insulation around the outside, sheetrock, put in windows, big, beautiful windows. We had a time and a half with those windows we went round and round with that company for months and months. The original building had these, what do you call these things? Beam braces or
Brackets.
brackets. And when when we got the building, they did not have those, so they designed and built those from scratch. Some of you may remember Dennis Nagel, who was working with us, the fine, loyal Tryon Harmon Field guy there. You see the building starting to really come together now. Even Carl Horton got in on the act, helped us with the windows. This is Leslie Chandler, who is our interior designer. Mike did a great job. We put a deck on the building, which it never had. Anybody know Bill the painter, local guy? He's quite an interesting character. Bill Haig is doing some work there on the landscaping. So we painted back to the original colors of the Southern Depot and added a handicap ramp that had not been added before. And so this is fireplace in the office that became my office. This is one of the bathrooms we put in. Remember, there was just one bathroom before. We have this bathroom, which has a shower in it, as well as replaced the other bathroom and two things. Well, actually, just two bathrooms in the depot room. Putting down the flooring here in the lobby. This is Chris Jones, guy from Rutherford County, who put in some great audio equipment. They did a great job. I was really proud of it. This is what it looked like when it was all over. And that's the kitchen. I've never been a kitchen in there. By the way, that dishwasher, that's a commercial dishwasher on the left, is the most expensive piece of equipment in the entire building. This is the restroom in the lobby on the left. Restroom in the office, which is now Michael Ballman's office. This is the lobby. That is, it's just a beautiful place. This is the office that is now Michael's office. And it really was and still is a show place. I'm really proud of it. As you can tell, I take a lot of pride in that building and that project. And the worst part about it was that Mike Kerriman had to live with me for 18 months because his family didn't live here. So he had to stay at our house for 18 months while we were working on that. On January 1st, 2011, my investment firm moved in. We started the 20-year lease period on that day. On the 27th of September, the proclamation, Mayor Peoples did a proclamation, and a beautiful picture of Mayor Peoples standing there, very happy, and a very young Dean Tracus. The depot room was managed by a full-time staffer at my firm. We used it for art shows, veterans events, and some rentals. And I threw this in because after that time, you may remember, this project started during the Great Recession. Nobody was doing things like this. And on July 7th, 2012, for those of you who were in town, we had that ghost town going around. None of these beautiful projects had been done by then. So we had over 200 people, or almost 200 people, at the depot room for a meeting to talk about that. Anybody recognize this guy? Bob Lane. Bob Lane. This is in 2013, near the end of 2013. He's the one who did Sunnydale at about the same time we did the depot. And he also, after that time, after that ghost town meeting, he started some of these projects that he tragically was unable to finish because he passed away, but his son Scott has done him proud in the years since. So the depot room from 2016 to 2023, 2016, I had a crazy idea that I wanted to run for Congress, so and it worked out great. So I sold my firm at Parsec Financial, and they signed a sublease with the approval of the town. And Parsec, during that time, allowed the use of the depot room for basically at no charge. They just didn't want to mess with it. So if somebody wanted to use it, they were a client. Some nonprofits, they could use it. In 2023, Parsec was acquired by Modera Wealth, a much bigger firm, and the sublease kind of conveyed with that, again with the approval of the town. And oh, by the way, and they decided they didn't want to
manage the depot room anymore. So they turned that back over to me on January 1st of this year. So that is why I am managing it now at their request. So this is what, the way I'm managing it now. We have some complimentary users. The town of Tryon, anytime the town wants to have a meeting there, Jim calls me up, no questions asked, absolutely, as long as it's available, they can use it. Modera Wealth is allowed a few events each year. Shakespeare and Friends, which is a local theater group, uses it sometimes. This is in the Shakespeare and Friends event there that you're looking at. Kiwanis Club now meets there, the Tryon Garden Club, Conserving Carolina, Gardening for Life, and a few others use the depot room now at no charge. And now some people do pay for it. For example, TEDA is doing an event, a couple of events that they've reserved it for. There's some private parties. This is the birthday party here. Tryon International Film Festival is a paid user. Other festivals, there's actually a festival there on Sunday. Private concert. The National Trust for Historic Preservation is coming to check out Nina Simone's house, and they're going to use it for an afternoon. These are the fees that we charge for a 501c3 nonprofit. That's one price. For all others, it's a little bit more. My dishes, glassware, flatware, the AV system, a little bit extra if you want to use those things. Most people don't necessarily need them. And there's a refundable cleaning deposit. So went through a lot of figuring out to try to figure out that it seems to me that that is a really not a bad price. I'm not getting rich off the depot, I can assure you. On January 1st, 2031, the original 20-year lease will expire, and on that date, the town of Tryon will gain full rights to and usage of the historic and valuable property. And I say virtually no cost to the taxpayers. I will say almost no cost to the taxpayers. You had to pay some outside maintenance and things like that. But it's, I think, going to end up being a pretty sweet thing all the way around. So I really, really appreciate the opportunity to talk to you guys. I really appreciate the what you did for me in making this happen. And entertain any questions that you got. Yes, sir. Thank you. I'll be after the meeting if you want to talk. Yes, sir.
We went out with Depot, the Depot received a North Carolina economic development
Yes,
award for 2011.
that's right.
The only one given that
And it was a great honor for a public-private partnership.
Beautiful. I'm just curious, what's the appraised value of the property now?
We haven't had it appraised, so we don't know. Anybody care to venture a guess? I've got a number in my head that I think is good, and I'm not gonna say it. Because it's just really in my head, and I'm kind of partial.
Well, and Andy, I'm gonna say personally, I appreciate that you and I talked about it. And I know it cost you in the vicinity of $300,000 to get everything done. And people argue with me that you were giving it away. I figured up about what it would cost us with interest to finance for 20 years. It was about $328,000 then. So it was a win-win for us and the citizens and everybody else. So thank you.
Yes, sir, thank you. It was a risk at the time, but I was happy to take it. Thank you. Oh, yeah.
You were already there at the rail in case we needed to run you out.
Say that again?
You were already at the rail if we needed to run you out.
That's right, sir. You need to run me out of town, right there.
Thank you. Item 10, Harmon Field proposed budget. Jim?
Okay. Brad, Gordon, their new superintendent, Harmon Field, he'll be doing part of the presentation, but please report that the Harmon Field Board at the last meeting last week are approved the budget for next year. But I wanted to go through what's transpired. I know when you hired me back in January, that same afternoon back on January 13th, 23, I left here, went to Harmon Field, and drove around the park and got out. And I saw that the gym of this small town, having a large park, 40+ acres, was not the same condition that I remember seeing Harmon Field when I left. And then Chris, you brought up too that when we got the budget done last year, the town board wanted the budget to be proactive. And I think some of the capital improvements would not have been possible if it wasn't for the strong support from the town board this year, and the county commissioners. But I'm gonna highlight the capital improvements before getting in the budget, and Brad will talk about the maintenance issues. But last year's budget, I met with Marsh Pittman at the county, and he said, Jim, we can't do a tax increase this year. I said, okay. How about splitting the cost on paving? And so Marsh was taking county commissioners out there, showing them all the potholes. And I'm pleased to report that in November of last year, we went ahead and paved it. It cost $137,300. And the arts and crafts was part of the parking lot. They did the same thing. They put money in and got that done. Also, too, the Harmon Field Board wanted to take some of the extra money we got from the reimbursement from the shed that caught on fire out there. And we went ahead and we took the bottom part of the open air gym. Arts and crafts is going to make it a photo lab / classroom. The back half's going to be a catering kitchen and storage tables. So there's going to be no reason to rent tables when you have a big event. And so the project's not quite finished. We're still working on it. So we have a nice kitchen, and then we'll be able to have a screened-in porch off the back. And so you can roll tables and chairs out to the open air gym. But also, we kind of did a joint venture on the grant application. I worked with a group called the Gathering Community. They host several basketball tournaments out there. So we went and made a presentation to the Mini Foundation. They gave us a grant for $25,000 plus money from the town and Harmon Field. So that's going to be additional assets. So if people need to rent the cabin and it's booked, they could very well go over to the catering kitchen screen and porch on the opposite end of the park. So that's that project. We also, thanks to the town gave a $10,000 grant to Harmon Field to do two things. One was to, we're going to put up a canopy in front of the food concession stand that'll be going up the next couple of weeks. We also, too, was out there that one day and I saw mothers out there with young kids using the playground equipment, sliding down in the dirt and mud. I'm pleased to report that we got that all mulched now. Also, to the equestrian community, they raised over $19,000 and they plowed that money into their facility out there at Harmon Field. But those are the big ticket items as far as capital goes. But the area that we were trying to concentrate on was getting the maintenance level to a acceptable level that the community would be proud of. And I guess, Brad, if you wanted to highlight the all the maintenance stuff that you and your crew are working on.
Yeah, so as Jim said, with the help of the town, the county, and, Harmon Field itself, my board, we have mulched the playground with engineered mulch for playgrounds at a certain thickness by the state standards, all that. We're still, every day we're having to add more because kids love that little tilt-a-whirl. They just run and make circles around that thing. So, but we repaired the gazebos that were out there. When we started, there was nails sticking through the seats. There was pickets missing. There was pieces of railings missing. We have to stain and paint one more by the tennis court, but the one by the playground has been pressure washed, stained, and completely fixed. Let's see here. We did have, Jim and them did have a playground inspection done before I came, and we've gotten some of that report back, and we're trying to fix a lot of that stuff as they come in. It wasn't as bad as we actually thought it would be, so that's good news. We had trees planted in the dog park that were donated. We got those planted, and myself and Greg, not the best green thumbs, but we got lucky and they all lived. Sometimes luck's better than being good. So, we took over trimming and, the shrubs and the trees. They were sticking over the roof lines. There was trees overhanging the walking trails and stuff. So we took a lot of that down this winter. We got the bamboo with the help of the Polk County Appearance Commission, and Greg Miner here has been helping me a lot over the past few months. We re-gravelled the parking areas when we done the paving. We try to bring it level with the asphalt. We repaired the broken boards on the bridges. We've got a couple more that we're spotting here and there. As you pressure washing things, you'll find things. So there's always more, but we did get the majority of them on that first. They did buy a new commercial grade refrigerator for the cabin. The other one it just really didn't work anymore, so they had to do something with all the rentals coming in. People need that refrigerator. The grills, the outdoor grills by the playground, the picnic sheds, they were all rotted out, rusted. We tore them out, ordered 3 new ones, put them in, and they get used quite often. We have to empty them out at least 2 or 3 times a week. We're in the process, like I said, of pressure washing a lot of things. As you drive by, you'll see the barns being pressure washed. We're pressure washing the sidewalks from the restaurant to the bathroom. We're doing the picnic shed. We've done the inside of the screen shed, and we're working on the boardwalk now. We've done the bridge going over the river to the shop from the gym side, and with the help of volunteer, we actually got it stained on both sides as well. Let's see here. We had to buy 20 tons of infill dirt to fix the baseball fields. And what I mean by that is, for certain age groups, you have to have certain size base distances. The Lara field, as we call it, it had 60 and 70 foot, but the grass had overgrown into the infield, so we had to have that cut out back to where we had the nice safe distance for the kids. Ball field B, when you first come in on the right, we had to regrade that, bring in dirt. We got those down to 70-foot bases, so both fields we have can play up to 12U. The basketball nets, we're working on soccer nets, and we got brand new baseball plates, bases, anchors, plugs, all donated by the YMCA this year. It actually was mentioned that this year we actually have a better working relationship with the YMCA than we've ever had in the past. So I want to thank Atticus and Brad on that as well. We did install a timer for the tennis court lights to extend playing time. And right now we have it, they like savings time, depending on when it comes on, but it automatically comes off at 9 o'clock no matter what. And that's in respects to the neighbors across the street, because those lights do shine in some of those houses and stuff across the street. We're working on some other timers, that way it will help the park as well. And we're also, one of the biggest things for myself and Greg when we kind of took the park is the level of service for the bathrooms. They were very bad disarray. There was cobwebs everywhere. They were pretty disgusting, just to be honest. And so now they get cleaned every morning. They get swept out. The toilets get cleaned every morning. Toilet paper gets changed more often. Hand soaps. So there's a lot of going into this and maintenance wise. And I'd like to thank my board and Jim for working hard for, hopefully getting a tax increase to help with the operating costs of the park.
Thanks, Brad. One thing I want to share is Brad was hired out here in late September. So we've accomplished a lot in the last 7 or so months. And I know we had 3 employees before they moved on, but one of the things that caused some problems at Farm and Field is the tax rate has been the same for 15 straight years. And I guess anybody in this room, if you own a company or just your own family budget, you employees get raises, the cost of mulch goes up, the cost of repairs and so forth. And for Harmon Field to go that way, I know I had a debate with the Harmon Field Board last week, but the dilemma we're in is some should pay. The problem with that is, that's been a story for the last 15 years and it has not worked. So, but Harmon Field, when you go out there, there's people from all over that use it and enjoy it. And to me, that's a compliment to the town and the township. But I mean, there's kids out playing basketball from Mill Spring, people from Spartanburg and so forth using it. And so it is a gem for not only the town, the township, but the county to showcase. I was out there at lunch hour today, and we had 4 buses out there from Henderson County Public Schools with the Mighty Sneakers program to join the park.
I really would like to express my gratitude both to staff and to you for your unfailing attention to what has become a dog-eared piece of property. Because you really have brought him back to the gym that he truly is for us. So thank you.
The key thing I like to have is a lot of times too is when you get something up to where you want it to be, you want it to continue and get better. And Brad recently hired another employee, Kenneth Durwood. He's been 30+ years working for Burroughs Fuel. So we got 2 individuals out there that understand maintenance and the importance of it. As far as the budget goes, where to go from here, I'll be asked by the county manager, I'll be presenting the Harmon Field budget to the county commissioners at the budget workshop. Their first gut feels always, well, we don't want to do a tax increase. But the key thing, I think, looking at the budget, I've taken the budget this year and broke it down by operating revenue and operating expenses, capital revenue and capital expenses. And over the years, the township, a long time ago, used to pay 100% of the O&M. And 2 years ago, the year ended June 30, 22, the taxes for the township paid for 67% of the O&M. The fees of renting the cabin out, the open-air gym, the concession stand, and so forth, have generated enough money to get to break even on O&M. There has been no money to do any major maintenance. And I agree with Brad that, I mean, I wouldn't take my grandkids into those restrooms when I was out there in January. But I think that when I'm trying to convince the county commissioners and the Harmon Field Board, which the Harmon Field Board did pass this budget, is that the taxes for the township pay for the O&M of the facility only. Anything extra, like major maintenance and new facilities, should be paid for by others, whether it be the town, the county, getting grants and so forth. But that would be a good benchmark, in my opinion, if the township covers the strictly the O&M. But we've also asked in this year's budget, we'd like to replace the back deck of the cabin, which is starting to fall apart. And also, we'd like to make the park more user-friendly in the evening. And we talked about lights for the tennis courts. We'd like to have lights for the soccer field, as well as the basketball courts. If the kids want to play basketball in the evening, the light switch is locked up in the upstairs room. There's no access to it. That's about $51,000. So our thoughts is, if the taxes pay for the O&M budget, major maintenance covered by the fees and the rents we get, and then the capital improvements, we go after grants. But if the county commissioners decide not to raise taxes, my recommendation is not to add any new facilities whatsoever, because it can't maintain what we've already currently have. And when I went out there, there's 3 things that I noticed. When I was here years ago, there was a putting green put in, never maintained. The middle school we bought, the roof was caved in. That's the bad news. But as you know, I always look at a negative as an opportunity. That building out there is got a concrete floor, block walls. It could be a marvelous community center for a fraction of the cost compared to what the other communities would build. But that's in a nutshell. But if you look at the tax rate, when I was here the first time back in 0304 was 0.0382. The tax rate currently right now is 0.0385. And I don't know how you can expect to have this crew continue to maintain a facility that's loved by so many people. But the county did come through and help with paving this year, and the town board. It's a much better looking facility, and, was there any questions? I mean, we're recommending a 2-cent tax increase. If that happens, that would raise enough money to cover the O&M of the park. And the fees collected, which is about 45,000, would go into major maintenance. And that'd be the equation I recommend for future years. And then, on the capital improvement program, the Harmon Field Board has had 3 public input sessions. And the first one was standing room only here. But some of the facilities we talked about in the future would like to add, pickleball courts would be going behind the tennis courts. We're also looking at moving the dog park over across the bridge into what they call Hog Heaven area and bring back a 3rd ball diamond. We're also the Equestrian Center, they've been very good on raising their own money for that part of the facility. Also, too, I know I built community garden for Bard where I used to work. We could build a new community garden for around 25,000 if that's enough to work. We also got a request to create some native gardens throughout the park. And then we got a lot of garden clubs and people that are very interested in making that happen. I'd also like to see the middle school that's fallen apart be rehabbed into community centers. And then the walking paths, one of the complaints we got at the public input session that the trail, when he built it, ends up in the far end of the park, it's a dead end, and you have to make a U-turn and head back. We'd like to continue that pathway around community gardens, connect back into the open air gym area. And then, like I said earlier, like to have lights for the soccer facilities. And then we'd like to look at an inclusive type playground. We got plenty of room to double the size of the playground and take it over toward the old abandoned concession stand. So Brad and I were out looking at doing that with one of the playground contractors last week. But there again, if we don't get the funds to operate the facility in the standard we should have, my recommendation not to pursue grants until that ever happens. But I will be making a presentation to the county, but staff would welcome support from the town board on the 2-cent tax increase. I want to thank Bill Crow. You attended the last few Harmon Field meetings. And do you have anything you want to add, Bill?
No, I mean, I guess this is the point where our citizens of the township kind of stand up and let their county commissioners know we need, a few more dollars out of the township.
Well, let me throw something in, and it's gonna sound like I'm tooting my own horn, but I can't make it sound any other way. They needed a handicap swing there, so Harriet and I donated that. That was about $2,200 because it comes with the insurance and you can put a wheelchair on it, and I worked with handicapped kids when I was a principal. Every time I rent that cabin, they gave it to me free because I was working with students. We had to hand wash the dishes. So last year, Harriet and I donated a commercial grade dishwasher right there. And that's what's happened with a lot of people. These people have opened their purses and written checks and stuff. And there are people over there, and I say over there, who don't see that. So I want to make sure the county commissioners know how many other people put money in there. I don't care who uses it. I just want them to give us a fair shake of what we've done there.
I think the thing this year is paint the picture, what the park looked like before, what it looks like now, and what do you think? How would you run a business? You can't continue, like in the old days before grass took over, all we really did was mow the grass, clean the restrooms, maybe not the standard it should have been, and that's about it. And then line the fields. Nothing else was done. When you go out there, like the mayor said, I mean, he came in to report a swing with a screw sticking up. I already had pictures of it. We were going to take it out and get it fixed. But just the idea that not having time to do that is unacceptable. It will make time. But we just need support from the town and the county. And then if the answer is yes, it's going to be full speed ahead to make this park even better than this now.
All right, thank you. Item 11,
Mr. Mayor, may I have
Hopefully a quick question. I'm Dave, David Wallen here in Tryon. Just in regards to Ziegler Park and other places that are part of the Tryon, how they enjoy.
We do have a parks committee that oversees all the other parks outside of Harmon Field, and Greg Miger's on that committee, he's here. And one thing too, I'm starting to attend all the parks meetings. I think it's important to have that connection. And even Harmon Field, I think the manager has an opportunity to go to Harmon Field meetings and communicate back to the town board. And then my philosophy is that if there's an idea at the Parks Committee, it goes to the committee, the Harmon Field Board, and if it needs town council approval, it comes to that last approval. But do you have any ideas, you want to see improvements in some of the parks, or?
Just not to be neglected, not to put all of our eggs into Harmon Field, although it is a jewel, crown jewel of Tryon's. But there are places that could use just a little bit. There are lots of opportunities.
Absolutely. One of the things I want to share on Rogers Park, for example, I think Chris, you might have mentioned to me, we need to get down to Rogers Park and see what's happened down there. The pergolas were falling apart. We replaced them last year. And then the picnic tables were been there since I was there the first time. We took them over to Harmon Field, and they're going to be revamped by the staff out there. Which is 4 new metal tables and chairs that, like downtown Rogers Park. Woodland Park, the Parks Committee is doing wonders to make that I find park. And one park I hadn't seen until I returned, because I went down the Vaughn Creek Greenway. What a fabulous area that is now. And then Bryan Park, the young man back in the corner came to the meeting, the very first meeting, and said, "What happened to the park benches at Bryan Park?" So I went down the next day, and sure enough, there wasn't any benches, and we went out and bought 2 black metal benches that are going to last for a long time. And I asked the young man to pick the location, which he did. So we're trying to make improvements, and the budget for Rogers Park and Woodland Park was nothing. I think we put in 20,000 this past year, the town board did, and we have another 20,000 in the cemetery and parks on the east side. But we're making right strides, but I think that my attending both Harmon Field and the Parks Committee has given me a good handle that we have a ways to go. So thank you for your comments.
Thank you for your.
and Dave, let me throw this there. About a year and a half ago, I talked to a gentleman who got some more land donated contiguous to Woodland Park. Now, some of you know I wanted to make that as a heritage garden in honor of my wife who has dementia. So I wrote the town a check for $10,000. And here's what I'm trying to say. Sometimes when we get things done, it's because someone that wanted to see it wrote the check. And I'd like to see more of that. I don't know how you get that. Well, I don't mind voting to raise taxes. People tend to get upset at that, but if you expect services, sooner or later you have to pay for it. That's just a fact of life. So with that, Jim, item 11, appointment of planning board.
Okay, I guess Tammy is the name for the planning
We
board.
have Patrick Brown, who has applied to be on the planning zoning board, and so they have one opening, he's in the sign to see that it's.
Yeah, we have one open for in-town. We have one opening for in-town, so that's why you guys appointed.
Okay. We have a motion, all those in favor, aye. Opposed, likewise, motion carried. Item 12, Tim, historic preservation guidelines, et cetera.
Okay, so the Tryon Historic Preservation Committee, Ellen Reichenbach, Dean Trachis, David Wallen, and Gail Awan approved the presented guidelines that you have at their last meeting, just in time for May, which is actually Historic Preservation Month. Ellen has been key in putting this all together, along with the input from the rest of the board. Last week, the planning board unanimously gave the guidelines their blessing. And Ellen will get up and address the council or answer any questions you might have. And we hope to get your vote on the adoption of the guidelines.
Okay. Good evening. Mr. Morgan, thank you for your help in reviewing these rules and guidelines. We are calling guidelines, not standards, and I will tell you why. But first of all, let me tell you that in 2010, the year Mr. Millard just referred to, the town voted an ordinance that created the Historic Preservation Commission. In that ordinance, required that the commission issue rules and guidelines, and that is also in the state law. That has not happened officially until now. The new members of the commission, we are now 4, we have one opening still, are working together, I think, very effectively. We have taken somewhat of a different approach than was taken in a previous draft, and I'll summarize that for you. We are trying to keep it very simple to begin with. Our mission is going to be educational about preservation, the benefits of preservation, what local preservation means as opposed to preservation at the state level or at the federal level. And there are differences. In terms of our guidelines, right now, they're very simple. All we have done, and this is after some discussion with the state office in Asheville, so is to begin with, we are using federal standards. So these would be the same standards that anyone who applies to put their property on the National Register would follow, or if there's a federal landmark. They're pretty open-ended. We've also written the whole process to encourage property owners to come to us. We really don't want to be out telling people what they should be doing with their property. Practically, I don't think it would play well. I have owned historic property in the past and have gone through this process. And we need cooperation with the people who are reviewing applications. So the way we're presenting it is that we would love to have people come to us who are interested in having their property designated as a local landmark, or if they're neighborhoods that would like to have their neighborhood considered as a historic district, they could come to us, we would work with them, help prepare things to go to the state. As a practical matter, however, the only staff right now is our planning director and some volunteers, now who have a certain amount of time. I am retired, but for a reason, and the rest of the commission is working still. So this is another reason we need to start slow. The other second practical part of this is that the state of North Carolina this year has been updating its survey of properties in Polk County. Once that survey comes back, and there are nice descriptions of properties, it will make it much easier for people who'd like to have their properties considered as part of local district or as a landmark to do that, because basically that information goes to the state, just where it came from. They look at it, they either comment or not within 30 days, and then essentially it's approved. So within the next year, it should be much more practical to accomplish some of what we'd like to accomplish. So anyway, initially, we'd like to go for low-hanging fruit, non-controversial properties. I'd love to talk to the owners of the Nina Simone house. That was just designated on the Federal Register last year, so it would be very easy to designate it locally. Nothing would have to be up to date. It would be wonderful if the downtown district, which is a Federal Register district, could be a local district. But that would take some work, cooperation with the GBDA, and probably the History Museum, because they've got a lot of records, but all the original designation would have to be updated. So that would take a little longer. Anyway, I wanted to thank you for listening. We would love to have your approval if and when we are able to bring anything in as a proposed landmark or historic district. It will require your approval by vote.
Thank you for your work.
Yes.
Welcome.
You know, I wrote the original.
Not to do. Good job, I think. Just for another piece of information, this is sort of funny. Dean Travis brought this up at the last meeting. We looked around at how other municipalities, cities in North Carolina have done this. And after a lot of review, we decided we like Raleigh's. And Raleigh is a big place and we're a little place. But the nice thing about the way Raleigh has done it, and one of the reasons it works for us, is as Tryon does, Raleigh uses overlay zoning for its historic districts. It also has a lot of diversity, not only in architecture, which has been the traditional focus of historic preservation, but also in terms of cultural landmarks and resources. And that's another thing when we do our first outreach, which will be the fourth Friday, that we want to emphasize to people that this is not just architecture, this is not just buildings, it's natural resources, it's cultural resources, it's archaeological resources. And so we want to be open to that and take probably a more modern approach to preservation. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you for that approach. Without going into it deeply, I don't think I'll get people screaming at me and me holding the phone out like this, the way you're looking at it.
No, actually, we really don't want to be an enforcement organization. There is a process where if a property is part of a historic district and contributing, owners might have to come to the commission if they want to make changes. We would like to be a resource, not enforcement. Another value, I think we'll talk to people about, of this process is that it allows for mediation when there's change in a neighborhood. So often neighbors, if they don't know ahead of time what their neighbor's planning, they can get pretty upset. So we hope to be able to avoid that.
Honestly, I'd really like for y'all to look at my house.
We'd be delighted.
Do you want
Nearly
to,
100 years old.
do you want a motion from the board?
Oh,
I don't think
well-
necessarily is needed, but.
I think it would be nice.
Okay.
If you would, technically, our town attorney does not think we need your approval, but I would love to have you formally approve the
Okay,
rules
I
and
have two
standards.
questions. Have you seen
Oh,
Me?
oh,
Oh, yeah.
We've been working quite closely
it?
together.
Question. Because satisfied with it?
Yeah, that's,
You seen it, you're satisfied with it?
Yes.
That's why I asked that, so that nothing blows up later. I'll entertain a motion to adopt. All in favor, aye? Opposed likewise, motion carries. Thank you. You have a real deal.
Thank you.
DDDA update?
okay, I'll do this as quick as I can. April is a big month. April Fool's Fest was a big success. The town was abuzz all day. We had 20 participants in the parade. Congrats to the outhouse race winner, Keep It Local. Thanks to the trash and show winners and contestants for showing up. And on top of all that, one dog got adopted. Thanks to some other thanks to Doug Arbogast for emceeing the parade, Rich Nelson for providing music, and Toby the dog mayor and his security team for making an appearance. Special thanks to Alex Schweitzer and Lourdes for putting it all together. We're ready to go for next year. We'll do it again. Next weekend, we have the Airstream Rally. Around 23 Airstream trailers will be descending upon the town. As in years past, there will be a campfire on McCown Street in a solo fire pit from 7 to 8:30. And then on Saturday, there will be an open house for all the trailers from 2 to 4. So come on down and check them out. Next weekend's fourth Friday, the theme is community caretakers. Groups from around the foothills that enrich local people and places will have tables set up to discuss various things. Tentatively participating are the Foothills Regional Commission. They will be there to discuss regional housing, and they have a survey for folks to fill out. The Tryon Historic Preservation Commission will be there to let everybody know about their newly adopted guidelines and how designations could benefit them. And we will also have a representative from the state at the table as well for even more education. Conserving Carolina will be there to discuss parks, trails, and greenways, as well as give updates on the Saluda Grade Trail. TDDA will have a table there discussing events and rolling out our new swag, including T-shirts and stickers. We just got a bunch of new ones in. Others include Habitat for Humanity, the Tryon History Museum, Lanier Library, and the Kudzu Warriors. TDDA will be gathering gift cards to raffle off at each table, so come on, get some info about area happenings, and maybe win some prizes next Friday. And then finally, the Main Street Tax Workshop on Wednesday, April 24th, an all-day historic tax credit workshop. 50 or 60 people so far have signed up, hosted by North Carolina Main Street, will be held at the Tryon Theater. Thank you to Gail and Scott Lane for offering that up. They will be discussing methods of investing in historic property and maintaining a property's historic character using federal tax credits. There's still spots open if you're interested, and we have links to it on our social media sites, or you can contact Town Hall and we'll get you the information, or stash for me and I'll get it to you. The fee is $25 and it is a local all-day event. And that is what I got for TDDA.
Okay, let's keep rolling over to the animal ordinance control.
Okay, so per a previous meeting, Patty Lovelace with the Polk County Animal Control requested that we update our animal control ordinances to mesh more with theirs to bolster their enforcement efforts. I met with her and got more specifics and put this revised version together that you should have. The bulk of it is from their county ordinances with our redundancies taken out and the specifics we have to our town put in. Patty also stated that we need to update our animal control resolution with the county that is currently very old. You should have that document as well. One thing to note, she also suggested that the leash law cover the entirety of town. I think the way it's in there now, it's kind of muddy. So section 12 reads, section 12, the restraint of animals. Every person owning or having possession, charge, care, custody, or control of any animal shall keep such animal exclusively upon the owner's premises. However, such animal may be off such premises if it is under the control of a person competent to handle and control the animal and restrained by a chain, leash, harness, bridle, or other means of physical control. So that would require leash law. So I guess the next step would be to
entertain a motion to adopt the resolution as printed.
So moved.
All in favor, aye. Opposed, likewise, motion carries.
Can you also do a motion for the ordinance document itself that they have, right?
yeah, you have copies of it, correct? No, that's the resolution. You have
This,
The ordinance too.
the ordinance should be in there.
Okay. Motion to adopt.
So moved.
All in favor, aye. Opposed, likewise, motion carries. Thank you. Item 15, social district labeling downtown.
All right, me again. All right, when Lawrence attended the Main Street Conference, he received info regarding a social district regulation update. Tryon does need to make some modifications, one of which is social district boundary signage. Some towns have weatherproof and slip-proof stickers on each boundary on the sidewalk. So we approached Yetis and got an example to show you here. It's not obviously this guy, but this is the material. Yeah.
I think we ought to use it. It's working.
So what we're gonna, yeah, we'll bring mock-ups to the next meeting. The cost for each sticker would be about $11 roughly. And I believe we will currently need a minimum of 6, one for each end of trade, Oak, Maple, Pacolet, and at the intersections with McCown and Pacolet, and Depot and Pacolet. Like I said, we can have a mock-up ready for the next meeting, or if you don't want to do something on the sidewalk, we can look into other signage that maybe goes on the side of the building. We will also work with and educate merchants to make sure they are in compliance with the products they're letting people walk out with. So if you want me to continue with the sidewalk plan, I can bring you some options next time. Okay, all right.
16, minimum housing.
Peak Street is, they're getting the proof of no insurance together. He's got the burn permit from the fire department, so we're just finishing up that paperwork. Shepherd Street correspondence has not been received by anyone. It keeps getting bounced back to me. I have found out recently that the bid on the property was never received, or the county never received the money for it, so it may revert back to the bidding process. I'm working with the billing clerk, Jordan, on that one. If somehow the town can obtain, or if it falls back to the town, then we can immediately move on that. That's it.
17, town manager's report.
Just have a few items. As you know, the town council, town board approved a new committee, the TDA/town Tryon. We had our first meeting a couple weeks ago, and we're going to concentrate on the 2 items first: public restrooms for downtown, which it's been brought up here. And in fact, one of the citizens who came last month is on the committee to make it happen. So hopefully we'll look at sites and budget and bring that back to the council when we're ready. The second item, as you know, is existing streetlights are going to stop forward. I want the committee to pick out a street light to be the new standard, and we'll bring back that to the town board as well. And also to the Main Street program that's meeting on April 24th, I've agreed to go there and their request to open up the conference, because it was 20 years ago when I was here, when Tryon was interviewed. We applied for a Main Street community designation, we got it. And so they wanted a reflection of what the town, what we've done the last 20+ years, so I'm looking forward to that. I mentioned earlier, next meeting, the financial statements and the audit presentation we brought before.
It's time for council mayor tonight, Chris, Bill, Terrell, and me.
I have very little except to say thank you to staff and thank you to the citizens for being in this room, this night, this hour. It means a lot.
Ditto, thanks to the staff for everything. Harmon feels looking better and better by the week. Thank you, Britt, for all the work y'all are doing, Tim. Thank the town for citizens for being here. We appreciate it.
Once again, thank you all for being here. We really do appreciate it. I had a conversation earlier about people having some comments, but not negative, but this is wonderful. Seeing you all. Of course, thanks to the employees, the staff, everything that you all do to keep this town running, and great people, just great people. And the presentations tonight have been outstanding. Has really made this meeting what it is. And again, thank you, Jim, for all that you've been able to accomplish since you've been here. And to our Lord, thank you also. Just great to thank you. If you all take care of each other and take care of yourselves, I think that we're going to be all right.
Well, I'd like to add my thank you to that. And one other thing before we go to citizens' comments, I have 4 pieces of drawings here that I've drawn on the way I think that the back street could look in Tryon under a metropolitan service district where a tax would be levied against business owners. And that money by law has to go into fixing up something in that street or on that sidewalk or on that building or in the back of it. But I did have some of these drawn up. I paid for part of it, the town paid for part of it. And I'll hang around a few minutes if somebody has questions. With that being said, I'd like to move to citizens' comments. And based on what I think is going to happen tonight, I think that we're going to have some good citizens' comments to be able to get some clarity and move on from that. So if you'd like to speak, please raise your hand. If it gets too long, I will put a restriction on the time, but I really don't want to do that. What I would like to do is if you raise your hand, get recognized, give your names for our public record, because we have to keep a record. Okay?
Address.
Where they live.
Address.
Oh, yes. The board has decided they would like to know where you live if you're going to come and address the town. Ken, do you live here?
No.
Okay. The floor is open if you'd like to speak. Yes, ma'am.
George Kempton, I live on Whitney Avenue on Gulfshore Hill. I've been there for over 40 years. I would like to see the town go for either a landmark or historic designation for that little red building, brick building on Maple Street. It's been there since the 1920s. It was the fire department, it was the police department, with the jail behind it. So I think it's an important piece of trying, and I don't want to see it torn down or pushed aside.
Nor do I.
There's too much of this town that has been updated and erased because people don't realize what the history of this town really is.
We got good news for you. That was also one we talked about, so.
Thank you.
And please come on May 1st for a meeting.
Yes.
Or please, we will meet on May 1st, or Wednesday, 4 o'clock. And if you want to propose it, then we can take it under consideration.
Okay, thank you.
Others? Yes, ma'am.
And I also live on Whitney Avenue. I actually, yeah, right next door just about. I actually brought this up with Greg. I know he said he had gotten a bid for the repair of the sidewalk on New Market, but the sidewalk on Whitney, which you requested photos of and were sent photos, has now been on the repair list for 8 years. And if you stand on portions of it, you can wobble back and forth, and it's really gotten bad. So I would really like to see.
Can we just take those sidewalks out? I mean, they're kind of on private property and everybody walks down the street because it only goes a third of the way.
It goes well, somebody tried to fix it, but it didn't go well. It runs from New Market down Whitney to right at my house, and then stops.
And there are trees that are tearing them up.
But people use that sidewalk constantly.
I lived on that road for 45 years and I never walked on that side.
But you don't live there now.
No, I don't.
The thing is, I don't think we're gonna tear up and do with it in the sidewalk. I live on the street where that happened. It's been paved over, it now cracks and everything else. I'd like to see more sidewalks in this town for safety rather than less. Yes, Joyce, yes, ma'am.
I don't understand why there's always a solution in somebody's mind that you tear down what's there. Why do you want to tear it down? It's been a part of the community forever.
Don't have an answer for that, but everybody gets to have his or her opinion. Okay, others, if not, I want to praise. Ashley, would you stand up, please? We've got something coming to this town that we have never had before. And she's going to be in charge of it. I love it. Fitzgerald and the Event Center. Thank you. entertain a motion to adjourn. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed, likewise. We're adjourned.